The Gator Nationals, the largest championship drag racing event in the Southeast. For 13 years, this mecca for high performance, Gainesville Raceway in Gainesville, Florida, has hosted the Gator Nationals, worth this year nearly $500,000 in cash and awards. The quarter-mile racetrack was blistered in qualifying, with the entire 16-car top fuel drag the 6-second barrier. And what does an all 5-second field mean? Well, back in 1976, when Diamond P Sports first covered the Gator Nationals, only one car was able to record a sub-6-second time. This year, the entire field is in the 5s. Off-season pro stock rules changes by the National Hot Rod Association have made these cars faster than ever. Larger engines and a lower overall car weight have combined to radically improve the performance of the factory hot rods. Lee Shepard, the defending world champion, qualified #1, setting new national records in the process. And to give you an idea of the impact those rules changes have made, take a look at the #1 time last year as compared to the time of the 16th qualifier this year. The assault on the qualifying standards did not lessen with funny cars. World champion Raymond Beadle in the Blue Max ended in the #1 position with a fine 5.91 second time. And as you can see, the rest of the field was close behind, with the #16 car just a quarter of a second slower. And Beadle continued to tell the story of Funny Car Eliminator as he came to the line in the first round of competition earlier this afternoon. The experts had classed Beadle as the strong favorite, expecting little trouble from the #9 qualifier, Al Segrini. And it was then that it happened. With incredible skill, Beadle regained control and drove the car to a stop. The crowd waited to see whether Beadle had been injured. And as he climbed out, untouched, the crowd roared its approval. Raymond Beadle, 3-time world champion, safe and sound. A tribute to his driving skills and the safety of the sport. As we watch this startling turn of events again, put yourself in the driver's seat and think how fast all this is really happening. From what appeared to be a normal start, the 2,500 horsepower race car was thrown out of control and rolled over on its top. At this point, there's little the driver can do but crouch down in the protective roll cage, hold on tight, and ride it out. When the car slid across the track and slammed into the opposite guardrail, the fiberglass body tore off the chassis, leaving Beadle and the car back on 4 wheels. When the body came off, the parachute deployed, helping slow the car. Beadle quickly recovered and literally started driving the car again, this time bringing it to a safe stop.
All right, Raymond Beadle, first of all, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm okay. I just hurt my feelings worse than anything else.
What happened? We couldn't tell from where I was down
the car
there.
went out and it shook a little bit, and it had like a slow drift, and I thought I could bring it around, and it just dug in on the one side, and when it did, it just flipped it. There's nothing I could do.
Well, that's the first time you've been on your head in a long time, maybe ever.
Well, we went on our head once several years ago, but I got to say it was my fault. I stayed with it a little longer. You know, we was trying so hard to win that round. We've slid around before and had no problem, but like I said, it just dug in.
And the car doesn't look that badly damaged.
No, it's all right. I think it rolled once or so.
Okay, I'll let you join your wife, Holly, because she's obviously concerned as your condition. He's fine.
She's worse than I am.
Raymond Beadle, sometimes I think he has ice water for blood. A cool, calm individual. Let's get out.
The #1 qualifier, Raymond Beadle, out of competition.
But there's no question about these drivers.
Hello, everybody. I'm Dave McClelland, and for the 7th consecutive year, Steve Evans and I are bringing you all the Gator Nationals excitement. We'll be right back. The 13th annual NHRA Gator Nationals at Gainesville Raceway. A large crowd anxiously awaiting the start of the second round of top fuel eliminations as our Diamond P television camera located in the helicopter circles overhead. That helicopter's been flying most of the day, and early this morning at about 8 o'clock, the huge parking lot was jammed with cars trying to beat the traffic jam. There's somebody else up at 8 o'clock, Steve Evans.
Dave, even though it's hours before the start of final eliminations, the early arrivals here at the Gator Nationals are lined up as far as the eye can see. Our camera crew picked up a ride this morning to the track from one gentleman who didn't mind the traffic jam a bit. He's the president and founder of the National Hot Rod Association, Wally Parks. And Wally, these people make an all-day adventure out of the Gators.
It's become a festival. It's an annual thing that they look forward to, and they want to get here early so they don't miss any of the action.
Yeah, you feel the magic of this event throughout this pretty college town of Gainesville. Welcome NHRA, welcome drag racers on all the reader boards. They love you here.
Well, it has become the largest event in the city here. It contributes over $1 million according to the Chamber of...
Indianapolis Raceway Park, home of the world's largest and richest drag race, the oldest event in the series of races that make up the NHRA Championship Drag Racing Series. The performances recorded during the last 4 days have startled even the longtime Nationals veterans. Top Fuel qualifying blistered the quarter-mile asphalt. The elapsed time record rewritten by the #1 qualifier, Gary Beck. The pace set by Beck, reflected by the remaining cars. The spread between #1 and 16, only 29/100ths of a second. A father and son team made the Top Fuel field for the first time in history, each driving their own car. 20-year-old Scott Kalita was the #16 qualifier, his dad, Connie, #11. Scott's competition in the first round, Billy Williams. Kalita fell behind at the start, with Williams having a big lead as he crossed the finish line, then disaster. A giant engine explosion. Williams fighting to keep control of the car at over 250 miles an hour. The huge tires acting like giant rubber balls as Williams attempted to bring the bouncing dragster to a safe halt.
Okay, Dave, as you can see, an engine explosion, burning the parachute off of Billy Williams' car, burning it off enough where it was ineffective. But Williams is all right, did a masterful job of driving this car. He really did. He avoided the net down here, which some say you shouldn't do, but Billy had it slowed down enough. You're okay, Billy?
Yeah, I'm fine.
What happened, huh?
I don't know. Parachute didn't come out for some reason, and
Parachute was out, but I think the fire probably burned some of it off.
it sure didn't slow the car down at all. I don't know what happened, really.
When the stress of over 250 miles an hour is continually placed on the nitro-burning engines used in Top Fuel racing, sometimes, as Joe Amato found out in round #1, something lets go. In Joe's case, this wasn't the first time this weekend. In qualifying, Joe Amato exploded a supercharger, scattering parts over the racetrack. No injuries to Joe Amato, except maybe to his bank account.
Joe and Jerry Amato doing a post-mortem on a motor that exploded 100 feet or so before the finish line, still ran 5.83. But, Joe, this one's pretty well destroyed.
Yeah, this looks like a grenade. I don't know. It's made a lot of noise. It sounded expensive.
Okay, now the restraint straps on the supercharger have done their job. Certainly one is broken, but that's to be expected. The blower is still on the race car and not out on the racetrack somewhere.
Yeah, all the cars, built well. All the safety stuff did its job. You can see the rules are definitely a help because it didn't go into the stands, which it definitely would have with the way that's broke. That's the first pass on that brand new blower. Apparently, the
it made the car a lot more powerful than it did before, and that's the reason why we're standing here looking at a dead soldier.
While Amato was pulling to a stop on the racetrack, his competition, Lucille Lee, was waiting patiently at the starting line. With Amato out of racing for the day, all Lucille had to do was go straight. A quick wheel stand. Lucille across the center line of the track, and disqualification. With both cars out in round number 1, Billy Williams gets a big break, a bye run in the second round.
What caused it to cross the center line, Lucille?
We had a whole lot of horsepower when we left. The front wheels came up immediately. It's the highest it's ever been, and when it came down crooked. You know, I'm trying to think back, and I feel responsible as a driver for not keeping it straight, mainly because I feel bad for Mark.
Lucille Lee referring to car owner Mark Danikas. The talk of qualifying, Gary Beck. A new national elapsed time record of 5.54 seconds. But qualifying is one thing, side-by-side racing another. In round 1, Beck raced Jack Ostrander of Pontiac, Michigan, and proved that the qualifying time was only a mark to be improved. The quickest elapsed time ever recorded in Top Fuel, 5.48 seconds to cover a quarter of a mile from a standing start.
Well, Gary Beck arrives down here to an ovation from the officials in this area. The quickest elapsed time in the history of drag racing, 5:48.
Great. It was pretty strong, really.
When we talked earlier today, you said you were going to go out there. You're not even going to try to run 50s. You lied.
Well, we know the thing is, car's been real strong the last 3 weeks, and I'm real glad for Larry Minor to have a great running car like this.
Another car owner, Paul Candies, is very happy to have a talented young driver. Mark Oswald proved his worth against Jim Bernard when he too had a giant wheel stand. But Oswald kept the power on and drove through it to victory, completing the pairings for the second round. Oswald will race Shirley Muldowney, Gary Beck against Doug Kerhulis, and Connie Kalita will meet Dick LaHaye. The difference in times between the two nitro-burning classes continues to narrow, as Don Prudhomme proved in funny car qualifying with an all-time best of 5.63 seconds. If he had been racing in Top Fuel, Prudhomme would have qualified number 4. At the beginning of today's competition, no one has forgotten Prudhomme's performance, especially Kenny Bernstein. He was matched against Prudhomme on the record-shattering run, recording a respectable 5.90 seconds himself, while Prudhomme logged a 5.63.
Coming into the U.S. Nationals, people were talking about maybe a potential of a 5.70 with the funny car, but a 5.63, they had to check 5 different clocks to make sure it was right.
Yeah, I know. It's awesome. You know, it's hard. If I was back home and I heard this was going on here, I wouldn't believe it. But I'm driving the car, and I'm here to tell you the car's doing it. It's an incredible racetrack. It always has been here, and you know, it ran a 73 and come back with a 63.
Dale Paulding had the dubious distinction of trying to stop Prudhomme in round number 1, and he lost traction going up in smoke and crossed the center line right at the start. Prudhomme marched into round number 2. The reigning world champion Raymond Beadle in his Blue Max funny car was handed the surprise of the Nationals, a first-round defeat at the hands of Ken Veeney. Formerly an alcohol fuel competitor, Veeney made the switch to nitromethane mid-season and has been steadily improving ever since.
Ken Veeney, only his 13th ride ever in a nitro funny car, the innovator in the alcohol ranks, makes the smoothest transition to nitro we have ever seen and defeats the Blue Max.
I'm honored. I mean, I can't believe it. I mean, I just don't know what to say.
578, 252.
All I need is I need a sponsor. That's all I can say. I need help.
Well, in round number 2, Ken Veeney won't get much help from Al Segrini. Don Prudhomme will square off against Tom McEwen. Kenny Bernstein races Billy Meyer, and Gary Bergen matches up with Tom Anderson. We'll be back with more exciting action from the U.S. Nationals in just a moment. Hello, everybody. I'm Dave McClelland, along with Steve Evans. We're at Indianapolis Raceway Park for all the excitement of the 28th Annual U.S. Nationals. Top Fuel Eliminator, round number 2 is at the starting line. Round number 2 of Top Fuel Racing at the U.S. Nationals, Shirley Muldowney against Mark Oswald. Shirley qualified in the number 2 spot with a spectacular 5.57 second elapsed time. Mark Oswald, the number 6 qualifier. But of course, as you saw in round number 1, the big story here, the gigantic wheel stand by the Candies and Hughes car. Steve had a chance to talk to Mark.
Right, a sensational job of driving in the first round with the wheels in the air half the time. Are you going to keep them down against Shirley?
Oh, definitely. You can't win a race like that. We were lucky to get by that round. We calmed it down quite a bit now, and I think it's going to run pretty good.
By calm it down, you mean?
Oh, try to keep the front end on the ground. Had too much clutch in it.
Oswald will need that clutch adjustment to beat this woman, Shirley Muldowney. She is the winningest woman driver in all of motorsports. A 2-time world champion against now the fastest car in all of drag racing, the Big Blue Machine from Louisiana. Candies and Hughes, the car owners. Mark Oswald, the driver. And it's up in smoke. Shirley Muldowney has an easy win. Mark Oswald losing traction. How about consistency for Shirley? 5.62 seconds at over 252 miles an hour. A great run. The next pair already fired. Here is the quickest car in all of drag racing. You saw it in round number 1 as Gary Beck ran a 5.48 seconds. Here he's running Doug Kerhulis in the second round. Steve's had a chance to catch up with Shirley Muldowney.
Shirley Muldowney continues to saw him off. Jeb Allen first round, now the world's fastest dragster, Mark Oswald. Shirley, he smoked the tires right up the line.
Did he? We thought that he would do that, yes.
Well, I hear your motor behind us talking to us. It's popping and cracking a little bit, but not a drop of oil anywhere.
That's good. Well, it was a little easier run, and I might have shifted it a little soon. I don't know, but I guess it was good enough.
Gary Beck, his eyes concentrating on the racetrack that has provided the traction thus far for his 5.48 seconds. He qualified number 1 and set the record at a 5:54. He's racing against the number 13 qualifier from Bakersfield, California, Doug Kerhulis, in the show at 5.80 seconds. Kerhulis, having one of the best seasons of his career, has now got one of the toughest races he's ever faced against the quickest man in the sport with the wheels in the air. Beck backs out of it, brings him back down. It's a close race, and Gary Beck wins it. 5.63 seconds. His speed only 243 miles an hour, and he pulled that out in just the last few feet. As we watch again at the start, look at the front end come up on Gary Beck's car. He backs off, the wheels back on the ground. He is trying his best to pull ahead of Doug Kerhulis, and the mighty horsepower of the Larry Minor car pulls it out at the last few feet.
Gary Beck celebrating his 10th anniversary here at the U.S. Nationals. He won it back in 1972 for the first time. Doug Kerhulis shakes his hands. What a job of driving, GB.
Yeah, it's leaving awful hard. It's lifting the left side up real high. We've been concerned about it. We added a little bit of lead to it. We'll probably have to put a little more on it. Track's getting better and better every round.
With the traction available, Gary Beck adding lead to the front end of the car, to the front axle, to hold those wheels on the ground. These two cars have just watched what's happened. Connie Kaleta, qualified number 11. He is the father of the father-son team. We saw Scott go out in round 1. Dick LaHaye, qualified number 7. But at this point, it is anybody's race. Dick LaHaye from Lansing, Michigan, against his longtime friend from Ypsilanti, Michigan, Connie Kaleta. Kaleta's already won an NHRA national event this season, winning the Grand Nationals title up in Canada. Both drivers taking their time, building some horsepower in the engines. As the engines get hotter, the more horsepower that they develop. The nitromethane fuels, LaHaye and Kaleta, and the wheels come off LaHaye's car. Both front wheels fall off LaHaye's car. After a bit of a wheel stand, it skids to a stop. Kaleta is already gone, the engine's shut off, and he is coasting to a stop at the far end of the track. But LaHaye starting to climb out of the car. Let's watch again and see if we can see what happens. Severe shake in the car. As you can see, the wheels just crumple over. And he brings the car to a safe stop. No injury to Dick LaHaye. But what a way to lose a race to Connie Kaleta, to have your front wheels fall off right at the starting line. The car being towed off the racetrack and will be taken back into the pits. Steve has a chance to talk to Connie.
All right, Connie Kaleta listening to the PA back here to see who has lane choice when he races Gary Beck, as they both ran the exact same elapsed time. They're comparing the speeds now to try to select a lane choice, as we can hear the public address announcer, Connie.
That shouldn't be that way. The
Lane choice just went to Beck.
That's not right. Do you think so?
Well, they're exactly the same elapsed times to the 1,000.
You should toss the coin for it as quick as time.
So you can go lobby for that.
Some you're going to win, some you don't.
Well, you and Gary Beck with identical elapsed times, that's not a race, that's more of a war.
Yeah, it is. But the lane choice could be very critical. So we'll just take a best shot at it. What can we do?
Well, maybe you can convince him to flip.
Yeah, I'll talk to him about it.
Steve, it sounds like Connie is going to be the racer rather than the politician this weekend. Here's the man that has found Christmas at the Nationals. This is Billy Williams. We saw him explode an engine. The car went off the track. He was able to keep it upright. He repaired the damage, and he got the break when Lucille Lee crossed the center line in round number 1, and Billy Williams moves into the semifinals against Shirley Muldowney. Gary Beck against Connie Kalita. 4 cars remain for one of the biggest purses ever in top fuel racing at the U.S. Nationals. At Indianapolis Raceway Park in the 28th Annual U.S. Nationals, I'm Dave McClelland along with Steve Evans, and we're getting set for round number 2 in Funny Car Eliminator. But one man has got a lot of work ahead of him. That is the race car of Tom McEwen that is scattered all over his pit area. Tom, in his first round race, exploded an engine, and that has created the stripping of this car down to the bare chassis as a lot of his friends have gathered around to help Tom get ready for his race against Don the Snake Prudhomme. In the first round, as we look at it again, it is McEwen against Frank Hawley. Hawley is here in the near lane, McEwen in the far lane. Up in smoke goes Hawley, the advantage to McEwen. The car travels down the racetrack and then explodes in a ball of fire at the finish line. Steve has had a chance to talk to Tom and ask him how is he getting ready for this race with Don Prudhomme.
He'll be good. We race every weekend, and he's a tough man to beat. So we've got a lot of help, and Lombardo loaned us a supercharger, and Roland's crew is over here helping us, and we're putting another motor in the car and fixing the windshield and everything. So we're trying to get back so we can go up and do battle with the snake. So we'll see.
Okay, good luck.
Tom McEwen, lots of work ahead of him before he races Don Prudhomme. Billy Meyer, one of the 2 Texans involved in this race, he is going against Kenny Bernstein. Meyer, hailing from Waco, Texas, started his driving career at the tender age of 16 in a funny car. He's the number 3 qualifier here at the U.S. Nationals for Kenny Bernstein, now of Dallas, Texas, qualified in the number 7 spot at a 5.90.
All right, how does Kenny Bernstein approach racing the fastest funny car in the world, Billy Meyer?
Fearful, very much so. Well, obviously, he'll run good. He ran 88, 588 in the first round, and we're a 93. He's got a lane choice. Fastest car in the world. He's tough.
We'll find out how tough Billy Meyer is against Kenny Bernstein. 2 very evenly matched cars. Not a whole lot separating them on the basis of their performance thus far. And they're a great race off the starting line. It looks like Bernstein has a bit of a lead. And then that top-end horsepower from Billy Meyer, 5.84 seconds elapsed time. His speed, 251 miles an hour. And when we call it close, Kenny Bernstein just a heartbeat behind at a 5.95 seconds. The next car is a team car of Kenny Bernstein, this time driven by Tom Anderson. He is racing a former champion here, Gary Bergen, the Orange Baron out of Stanton, California. Steve is with Billy.
Well, Billy Meyer, you said you were striving for consistency. You've got it. Another climb in the 580s and a big speed over 250, which will back up a new record.
That's good. I don't know if I was a little bit late or not. Do you know?
Just a fraction.
I saw him very much around the ship. We moved back and forth in about 600 feet with our top-end charge. It helped quite a bit. So.
Billy Meyer reflecting the pressure that builds here at the U.S. Nationals. Here is the team car of Kenny Bernstein, this one driven by Tom Anderson. Anderson qualified number 2, a sterling 5.79 seconds, one of the all-time quickest times ever for a funny car. For Gary Bergen, he qualified number 6 at a 5.88 seconds. This is round number 2 of racing. The winner of this pair will advance into the semifinals, and they're both up in smoke off the starting line. Tommy Anderson looks to be out of control, And Gary Bergen recovers to win the race. 6.56 seconds at 239 miles an hour. But this is one of those cases where who cares how quick you go or how fast, all you're interested in is getting to the finish line first. You can see Anderson in the Kenny Bernstein team car going out of control. Gary Bergen keeps his car pointed in a straight line, and he heads right down to the end of the quarter mile and takes the win.
Well, we talk about drivers' races. You just saw one. The driver that recovered first as they both smoked the tires was victorious, and that's Gary Bergen. Good driving, Gary.
Thank you, Steve.
He smoked the tires just about the same time you did.
I saw that, and then I stepped back on the throttle and got around him, and he just got to the finish line first.
Well, both of you did everything possible to win that one.
Yeah, we sure did. This is a big race to win.
Oh, yeah. Gary Bergen won it once a long time ago.
Steve, it was way back in 1976 that Gary Bergen was the funny car champ at the U.S. Nationals, but all eyes are on the starting line as the sleek fiberglass body is lowered down over Ken Vini's car, the man they call the Innovator.
You've built so much of your own stuff. What on this car have you manufactured?
Well, I make the heads and rocker arm assemblies and valve covers, manifolds. Let's see, I didn't build a blower on this one, but you could. I'd have.
Your motto is, if you can't afford it, build it, huh?
That's what I've had to do so far. I think you try a little harder when you don't have very much money. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's what it's all about.
If Ken Vini tries much harder, he may leave all of his competition clear back on the eastern seaboard as he has blistered this asphalt here at Indianapolis Raceway Park. His mid-season switch to nitro has left them all shaking their heads. Here in round number 2, Ken Vini is going against this man, the number 8 qualifier, Al Segrini, who came into the program with a 5.91 second elapsed time. The burnouts are completed for both cars. Concentration now on the electronic starting device, the Christmas tree. Al Segrini and Ken Vini. Segrini falling behind at the start, and look at Ken Vini across the finish line. The quickest time, he ties the national record of Don Prudhomme at 5.73 seconds and sets a new national speed record at over 254 miles an hour. Tom McEwen has got his car back together. He is matched up against Don Prudhomme here in the second round of racing. Right now, let's go to Steve.
There's a good possibility that you, Ken Vini, in this fairy tale effort today have just set both ends of the National Funny Car record. They're looking at the backup, doing the math right now. Fantastic.
Fantastic. I don't know what to say.
573. 254.
And no nitrous oxide. That's all
You don't need the Red Rocket, doesn't need it.
I don't know what to say. I can't say anything. I'm just dumbfounded.
Well, you're now the man to beat. You've got lane choice. Everybody's talking Ken Vini all the way.
Hey, thank you. I can't say anything.
Tom McEwen, after replacing all the parts in his car, is back running. Don Prudhomme, the quickest man ever in a funny car, has also known the parts breakage problems this weekend. Steve asked him about it.
So the engine in the car is the last bullet you have?
Yeah, we have enough parts, I think, to keep going. But, you know, the competition out here is really tough, too. You know, we set some new records, but it was costly.
But you go from 580s to 560s. You just find the next weak link?
That's exactly right. You know, it's you pick up an extra tenth of a second and a few miles an hour, and all of a sudden the wrist pins on the engine isn't strong enough, and you destroyed $10,000 worth of parts. But we proved that these funny cars can run darn near with the top field dragsters. You know, a 563, that's incredible.
Hard to even say, isn't it?
It is.
The evolution of drag racing, a costly one for Don Prudhomme, but he has got the record at a 573. He has run as quick as a 563. This a rematch of the finals of the U.S. Nationals 1978. Then it was Tom McEwen winning. This time it is Don Prudhomme. And look at the times, 5.77 seconds, only 218 miles an hour as Don Prudhomme moves into the semifinals to race Billy Meyer. Ken Vini against Gary Bergen, as we'll return in just a moment to the U.S. Nationals. Back at the U.S. Nationals, we've just seen Don Prudhomme win his race to move into the semifinals, but the big story in funny car has been the performance of Ken Vini.
We'll talk about incredible. He may have taken your record away from you on that last one.
That's what I understand. Yeah, he's really running good, isn't he?
Hard to believe.
Yeah, you never know. We'll see.
Okay.
The relaxed confidence of a true champion, Don Prudhomme. Right now, it's Pro Stock semifinals at the Nationals. Ford versus Chevrolet, these factory hot rods running on gasoline and carburetors at over 175 miles an hour. Here is Frank Iaconio driving the bright yellow Chevrolet Camaro. He is matched against the reigning world champion. Frank Iaconio taking time out to talk to his dog just a little bit before going into the semifinal round. His competition, though, he's the reigning world champ. He has already locked up this season's world championship. Lee Shepard, he's talking to his car. Shepard and Iaconio in the semifinals of Pro Stock, and they leave just as if they are one. At the center of the track, it is anybody's race. At the finish line, Frank Iaconio pulls it out by inches at over 173 miles an hour. He records a 7.81 second elapsed time. As we watch again, you see how even it was at the starting line. Then as they go down the track, they remain side by side until just at the finish line, by a matter of inches and by 1,000th of a second, Frank Iaconio gets there first. He's into the finals. His competition will be one of these two cars, the Ford of Bob Glidden or the Chevrolet Camaro of Don Kuntz and Albert Clark. Kuntz, the driver, his partner Albert Clark, working diligently on this car to get it ready to race. For Bob Glidden, a many-time national event champion, he has won the world championship 4 times. Don Kuntz, this his best finish ever in Pro Stock racing. The tachometers in the cars recording RPMs over 10 and 11,000 for these gasoline-burning cars, and a red light start for Kuntz. An automatic win for Bob Glidden in the Ford EXP. Kuntz exploding a motor as he crosses the finish line. He keeps the car under control, but obviously some problems with that 500 cubic inch engine. There you see Don Kuntz leaving the starting line just a hair too soon. The red light indicating he loses, and Bob Glidden moves into the Pro Stock finals at the Nationals against Frank Iaconio. In the pits, Steve is with loser Lee Shepard.
Lee Shepard's girlfriend, Marcia Brown, trying to console him here in defeat. It was just whoever let the clutch out first on that one.
Yeah, it looks that way, Steve.
Frankie did.
Yeah, he did. Well, he's been driving real good lately, and it's hard to get a light on him every time.
Lee Shepard may have lost this battle, but he won the war, having already clinched the world champion title for the 2nd year in a row. In addition to the professional categories in racing here at the Nationals, Sportsman Eliminator have been in competition. In the Stock Eliminator final, S.E. Buchanan in the far lane from Hot Springs, Arkansas, takes on Northville, Michigan's Don McElroy. Buchanan in the Ford Mustang had the head start and held on for the win, taking his 2nd ever NHRA title and some $6,700. A big break for Greg Tabler in Super Stock Eliminator as his competition, Ron Cosner, was unable to answer the final round call, taking his first ever win. Greg Tabler winning about $7,700 as the Super Stock champion. In Super Gas Eliminator, Stan Strazama against Bob Phillips. A close race to the finish line, but it's Strazama there first, the 31-year-old from Elkton, Maryland, winning about $7,500 as the Super Gas champ. Competition Eliminator sees a big head start going to David Nickens of Houston, Texas. Following behind him and trying to play catch-up is Gary Brown from Buford, Georgia. The 29-year-old Brown wheels the Camaro past the Datsun at the finish line. $8,900 in the competition eliminator title to Gary Brown. A red light start settles the Top Fuel motorcycle. Terry Kaiser from Houston, Texas leaves just a hair too soon, and the win to Roland Stewart from Gainesville, Florida. In Pro Comp Eliminator, the classic matchup of the dragster versus the funny car. The alcohol-burning car see Bob Gottschalk in the Ohio Thunder funny car defeat Galen Rogie in the dragster to win his 2nd national event title this season. Some 1,000 racers started competition here about 6 days ago. Our congratulations going to all the Sportsman Eliminator champions. Another winner of an award is with Steve Evans.
Out of the over 1,000 cars entered here at the U.S. Nationals, the McGuire's Wax people have selected this stunning 1982 Pontiac Trans Am Pro Stocker as best appearing car of the entire event. It's owned by Ronnie Manchester of Westport, Massachusetts. It was built by Don Ness Racecraft, the body and chassis anyway. It took some 28 weeks to construct this pro stocker. Manchester owns a body shop in Massachusetts, and he personally applied the absolutely gorgeous red paint. Everywhere you look, it is chromed, it is anodized, it is polished. It's also very, very fast. It qualified in the field here. So our congratulations to Ronnie Manchester for what just about everybody feels is the finest pro stocker ever built.
While a lot of work is going on in the pit area, here's one fan that's catching a few winks when he has a chance. We'll be right back at the U.S. Nationals. Back at the U.S. Nationals at this sprawling facility known as Indianapolis Raceway Park, carved out of the central Indiana countryside. One of the finalists is from nearby Whiteland.
Well, Bob Glidden is apparently out chasing parts or something and has left the preparation of the Ford car for the final pro stock up to wife Etta, and she's capable of doing it. What do you do to get one of these ready?
Well, there's a lot. After each run, you have to pull the valve covers and check the valves and check the valve springs. We changed some stuff in the carburetors, reset the floats, and we're switching the tires from side to side, and now I'm getting ready to check the air pressure.
And what's this around your neck here?
This is my tire gauge.
Well, let's do it. I'll go with you. How much air are we going to put in these, or is that a secret?
No, it's not a secret. I keep them at 5 pounds until we get in the staging lanes, and then I put them down to 4.5. And then just before he runs out, I use 4 1/4.
And tire pressure, very important that it's equal.
Yes, very important that both tires are equal, so it's when he launches that one doesn't override the other one.
We'll find out in just a few moments how well Etta Glidden did in preparing that Ford EXP. But right now, it's the semifinals of Top Fuel Eliminator. Billy Williams against Shirley Muldowney, and Billy has had a couple of big breaks. One, the car stayed upright in round 1 after that massive engine explosion. In round number 2, he got a single. Steve had a chance to ask Shirley what she knows about Billy.
Shirley Muldowney, tell me about Billy Williams. That's your next opponent.
I don't know much about Billy. I know he was very good in the alcohol classes. He's a real nice guy. I think he's a pretty good driver, but I don't know much about, you know, how consistent his equipment is. I'm hoping it isn't too consistent.
For Shirley, she has been the picture of consistency throughout this event. She qualified in the 550s, has been through eliminations in the 560 elapsed time bracket. A good start for Billy Williams. He's right alongside Shirley Muldowney, but then the superior horsepower pulling ahead, and Shirley wins it 5.65 seconds at over 245 miles an hour. Gary Beck, the quickest man in all of drag racing, coming up to race Connie Kalita in the second race of this round of Top Fuel Eliminator. Steve's at the finish line with Shirley.
Shirley Muldowney continues her march towards what could be a 3rd World Championship title at season's end, but more important now, her 2nd ever U.S. Nationals final round berth. She lost the last time she was in this position and doesn't intend for that to happen again. Congratulations, you're in the finals.
Thank you. It's what an honor.
565.
That's good enough. That may do it.
What Shirley thinks is good enough is her elapsed time of 5.65 seconds. The choice of lanes goes to the racer with the lowest ET of the previous round of racing. Here we have Connie Kalita looking over at his competition, the quickest man in drag racing. Gary Beck driving Larry Minor's car from El Toro, California. He has run 5.48 seconds. That would easily eclipse Shirley Muldowney's 5.65, but that was set earlier in the day. The track conditions are different. The atmosphere is different. And Kalita with a great lead. Something goes away at the very start on Gary Beck's car, and the upset of the race, Connie Kalita with a 5.68 seconds, 0.03 of a second slower, and Shirley knows she has lane choice in the finals when she meets her former crew chief, Connie Kalita, for the title, the 28th annual Nationals champion. Funny car eliminator, Don Prudhomme, nodding to his crewman. Sitting right in front of Don Prudhomme is 2,500 horsepower of nitro-burning Hemi engine. It's supercharged. It is fuel injected. The crewman turning on the fire extinguisher bottles and then lowering the fiberglass body down over Don Prudhomme. At the finish line, Connie Kalita.
All right, lane choice isn't going to be that big a factor, is it?
I don't think so. The driving is, though.
Oh, yeah. Anytime you and this lady meet, it's a bit of a war.
Yes, it is. It's going to be a hell of a good drag race.
You take great pride in trying to leave on her.
I wouldn't do that. It's ladies before gentlemen, isn't it?
The KG veteran Connie Kalita obviously enjoying himself here at the 28th Annual U.S. Nationals. He's in the finals of Top Fuel. Here, the first race in the semifinal round of Funny Car Eliminator. The quickest funny car in the world, Don Prudhomme in the near lane. In the far lane, one of the fastest ever, Billy Meyer. And this has got to be on both their minds. Steve had a chance to talk in the pits with Billy.
The world's fastest funny car, you, Billy Meyer, versus the world's quickest funny car, him, Don Prudhomme. What do you think?
I think he's going to be out in front of me somewhere because he's running so quick, and he's not running any mile an hour.
Shutting off early, you think?
It's shutting itself off, I think, but right now that didn't matter. So at some point in time, I think I'm going to be chasing him down to the other end. Hope I get there before he does.
Don Prudhomme, having recorded a 5.77 in the previous round, has got to be favored over this man, Billy Meyer. But every time Don Prudhomme seems to run quick, he hurts parts. He is beginning to whittle down his supply of aluminum engines, and they leave almost together. A great leave by Prudhomme, a little bit of flicker of flame, and Billy Meyer wins the race, coming from behind, just as he predicted, a 5.94 at over 252 miles an hour. Prudhomme builds the lead in the middle of the course. There you saw just a little flash of flame indicating possible some engine damage. The parachute out, that may have slowed him somewhat, but Billy Meyer wins the race over Don Prudhomme.
Billy Meyer, it still takes a driver in one of these cars. Your starting line prowess paid off that time.
Yeah, I feel like I won the race.
You did win the race.
Yeah, I mean the whole damn race. Oh, me. I appreciate it.
This business is hard work, isn't it?
Yeah, how about that? It's gets kind of emotional after 7 days of this stuff. What
slowed down to 5.94.
Oh, did we really? What mile an hour?
I don't know.
I tell you, it was just what I talked to you about before. This little deal right here. He got out about a car out on me about 400 or 500 foot, and I said, "Please, bull, please." I guess he did.
Our last two cars in the semifinal round, Ken Veeney against Gary Bergen. We had a chance to ask Ken Veeney why, when he was at the top of the alcohol game, did he switch to nitro?
I always wanted to do it, and I just figured sometime I was going to do it before I quit, and I didn't really have the enthusiasm with the alcohol to really do good.
You'd done it all.
I just didn't feel like I had anything to do, and I was bored.
He got rid of his boredom in mid-season as Ken Veeney moved to nitromethane. He has run a 5.73 at this event. He has to be favored over this man, the Orange Baron, the 1976 Nationals champion, Gary Bergen from Stanton, California. Veeney from Wadsworth, Ohio. Searching for a sponsor, but showing everyone in nitro racing what it's all about, and he goes up in smoke. There goes Gary Bergen, and Ken Veeney cannot catch him. Gary Bergen into the finals, 5.93 seconds. He takes the lane choice over Billy Meyer as they move into the finals, and Ken Veeney up in smoke. Gary Bergen, a happy man.
Gary Bergen, you won this race, what, back in '76, and this is your first final round appearance here since. You have lane choice with a 5.93 over Billy Meyer.
I'm glad. I mean, we wanted to do this for a long time, Steve. In the year after we won in 1977, I felt like that we controlled the race and we had to shoot prematurely come out, and we lost it. We've been trying to be in the final ever since.
Well, here you go against Meyer. Can you go any quicker, or do you even take the chance of trying?
I think it'll probably run quicker. We're going to try, I think.
Okay, Gary Bergen goes back to the pits to get ready for the biggest race in drag racing.
Steve, there's another team getting ready for the biggest race in drag racing. Connie Kalita has got troubles. You see a racing engine being stripped down to the absolute bare block. Parts and pieces being taken off, swapped around, trying to get ready for the finals against Shirley Muldowney. In funny car, it's Billy Meyer against Gary Bergen. Pro stock, Bob Glidden in the Ford against Iaconio Chevrolet. We'll be right back. At the U.S. Nationals, frantic action going on in the Connie Kalita pit area as he tries to prepare his car for the finals against Shirley Muldowney, where a bit of a contrast takes place as things are relatively calm around Shirley's car. Her crew going about their tasks of preparing the car. We'll be seeing that finals in Top Fuel in just a moment, but right now let's see who's going to win Pro Stock Eliminator? Will it be the Chevrolet of Frank Iaconio? He was a runner-up here before, and he has never won the U.S. Nationals title. His competition, though, is Bob Glidden, driving the Ford EXP. Glidden has been a national champion many times here at Indianapolis Raceway Park. He knows how to handle the pressure. Can he get the performance out of the car to take the win? Both cars concentrating on that series of lights known as the Christmas tree, and a great start for Iaconio. Just a few feet ahead as they leave the starting line. Can he hold on at the finish? He does. It is Frank Iaconio, the Pro Stock champion. 7.80 seconds. His speed 173 miles an hour. The race won at the starting line as the elapsed times identical. 7.80. As they approach the finish, you see how close it was. There they go, 0.04 of a second. Frank Iaconio, the champion.
As the Pro Stock finalists roll in here, I don't think either one of them knows who won. You won. Frank Iaconio, identical 7.80 elapsed times.
Really? Oh, my God. I knew I won. I saw the win light when I come to the traps. Because the scoreboards are just a little ahead when you cross the finish line. I saw the light come on.
Right, that's the sound of Bob Glidden leaving here in haste. Had it not been for that light, you wouldn't have known, I don't think.
No. Other than that, you know, it was so close, I couldn't tell who won.
Greatest ever victory for you here?
Yeah. The only other time I was in 76, I was runner-up, and since then I haven't done anything here.
Well, he's won 2 national events this year, the Winter Nationals and now the U.S. Nationals from New Jersey. Frank Iaconio defeats 5-time world champion Bob Glidden.
And Steve, he takes home some $18,000 for the Pro Stock Championship. Funny car eliminator and a bit of a switch. Gary Bergen moves over into the right-hand lane. He had lane choice. Throughout the day, the racer with the low elapsed time basically has taken the left-hand lane. He gave it to Billy Meyer. Will it make a difference? We'll find out in a few moments. Billy Meyer, way back in the early 70s when he was only 19 years old, was in the finals at the Nationals. He did not win that race. Gary Bergen, of course, a champion here back in 1976. As darkness falls, up in smoke goes Bergen. And there is the winner of Funny Car Eliminator, Billy Meyer. And he did not take it easy. He recorded an outstanding 5.91 second elapsed time at 247 miles an hour, one of the slower races of the day. And there's where Bergen lost the race. He smoked the tires, he lost traction. As in the gathering darkness, you see the flames of those nitro engines standing tall off the headers.
Well, the disappointment of that 19-year-old a few years back will now be replaced with a $30,000 smile on the face of Billy Meyer, his first ever U.S. Nationals victory. Congratulations.
Feels very good. Feels very good.
And very emotional.
Yeah, I just thank the Lord.
All right, Billy Meyer, whose young first son was born just last week, and this was for him, for Adam.
It's my wife.
And a big boost towards a world championship. A lot of points are paid here, more than any other race. Billy Bergen smoked the tires instantly.
I saw it. I think I was a little bit late. And my car leaves pretty slow and his left, and I saw him all of a sudden, and I went by him, so I just shifted it quick and just tried to get it down there. We probably, what, run 610 or something?
On the 590s.
Did we really? How about that?
Billy Meyer reflecting the emotion of the moment, but for Connie Colita, it looks like we're going to have a race. He's just about got his car back together to run Shirley Muldowney in the finals of Top Fuel Eliminator and the most prestigious championship drag racing title of them all, Top Fuel National Champion. We'll be back in just a moment at Indianapolis Raceway Park. The final pair of cars at the U.S. Nationals. It has taken 6 days to reach this point, but the Top Fuel National Champion will be decided in a very few seconds. Shirley Muldowney has never won this title before. She has won 14 other national events. She is the only person ever to win the Top Fuel World Championship twice. Her competition, the KG veteran, Connie Colita. He won a national event title way back in the late 1960s. He won his second one this year when he defeated Shirley Muldowney in Montreal, Canada. Connie Colita was the crew chief for Shirley Muldowney when she won her first world champion title back in 1977. He came back to the sport, has done exceptionally well as a driver, and is here matched up against Shirley in the finals of the 28th annual U.S. Nationals. Over $30,000 riding on this one single run. Shirley Muldowney against Connie Colita. A great start for both cars. And Kalina drifts away out of the center of the track, and Shirley Muldowney pulls straight ahead for the win. She has won her first ever national title. The crew reflecting the glory that is Shirley Muldowney's at this event. Her crew chief, Ron Tobler, along with her son, John Muldowney, very happy, along with the rest of the crew. A great race for Shirley. Connie acquitting himself exceptionally well as Shirley Muldowney wins the Nationals.
Shirley Muldowney wins her first ever U.S. National Championship in the quickest side-by-side drag race in history, a 5:57 for Shirley Muldowney, some $30,000 to this young woman. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I'll take that, Adolph. Shirley, tell me about the race.
We weren't that worried about him. He had to borrow a motor from our good friend, the Budweiser man, and we thought that was his downfall.
Okay, now this gives you a big lead towards a world championship. I don't think anybody can catch you now.
I don't think so either.
Congratulations again.
Thank you, NHRA.
The president of the National Hot Rod Association, Wally Parks, coming in for a hug. Boy, I like these lady champions. They're a lot more fun than the guys. Oh, and Wally, what a U.S. Nationals we had. Absolutely unbelievable.
Well, I think this is one of the most memorable ones I've seen. We're all so excited all day long, and it was just out of this world.
I think it's going to take us a few days to digest what we saw.
I think so. There was so much action, so many records that it's going to take a long time to go through all the results, but boy, it was a honey.
Right you are, Wally. A tremendous race, this 28th annual U.S. Nationals. For Steve Evans, I'm Dave McClellan saying so long from Indianapolis Raceway Park. Diamond P Sports presents from the National Hot Rod Association, Championship Drag Racing. Moments ago, this woman, the three-time world champion in Top Fuel Eliminator, Shirley Muldowney, in the first round of competition here at the 14th annual Gator Nationals in Gainesville, Florida, was racing this man, Jim Bernard, the winner of the Top Fuel Eliminator title at the World Finals last year. It was on this run that Shirley recorded the fastest speed ever, over 257 miles an hour.
A lot of years we waited for this one. They're happy. Shook a little bit, and it's a clean motor.
But where did the 257 come from? And that's a tremendous leap.
Up on the tire real fast. We're running a Goodyear 2600, and I think that's going to be the tire of the year.
Just a few minutes after that, in the first round of funny car competition, Gary Bergen in the near lane was racing Kenny Bernstein. Gator Nationals history was made on this run as Bergen recorded the low elapsed time of this year's event, and established an all-time Gainesville Raceway track record of 5.78 seconds to cover the quarter mile. The Gator Nationals always provides the fans with a dramatic moment. This year in Super Gas qualifying, Mickey Thompson of Ohio, named after the legendary drag, off-road, and Bonneville racer, left the starting line and found himself out of control. Thompson's Chevy Vega started to spin out, first to the left, then to the right, then the rear tire buckled under, and the car began a series of barrel rolls, taking it right up to the guardrail. Right after the crash, we had a chance to talk with an obviously shaken Mickey Thompson.
Just remember heading for the right guardrail and trying to turn it back. That's all I remember.
Thanks to the stringent rules and safety requirements of NHRA for all classes of cars in competition, an uninjured Mickey Thompson is able to wonder what happened. Hello, everybody. I'm Dave McClelland, and we are here for the 8th consecutive year of Diamond P Sports coverage of the NHRA Gator Nationals. As always, working with me is automotive expert and drag racing enthusiast Steve Evans.
Well, thank you, David. As you know, the Gator Nationals has about everything you could ask for in a drag race. Over 600 cars were entered, racing for some $600,000 in the Gator Nationals titles. Now, the crowd behind me, and I mean, they have jammed this Gainesville Raceway, these Atlantic Coast fans. This is their first look at all that's new for 1983, and believe me, there is plenty. I had a chance early to talk to the reigning world champions in Top Fuel, Funny Car, and Pro Stock about how they felt their season would shape up. Tell me how you feel going into this early season after such a tremendous 1982.
We feel good about it. I'm happy that I have a new Swindle car, even though the 82, I know a lot of people that would like to campaign that car. But I think on this circuit, this is where we're happy. This is where we feel at home. The conditions are real good. It's fair for everyone. Everyone has an equal chance. It's what we like to do.
Lee, your first championship came very, very hard. It came down the last race of the year. However, last year, by mid-season, you had run away with it. The title chase was over. Is it going to be that easy this year?
Well, I don't think so, Steve. Frank Iconio's running awful fast. He's running quite a bit faster than he was last year. So we expect to have a lot of competition this year.
How has becoming world champion changed your life?
Oh, a lot of people want to talk to me now. They want to hang out with me. Before they didn't. So I like that. It's inspired us to run for the rest of the year. I mean, we've realized that we can do it now. It was something that everyone always thought couldn't happen by an underdog team, and we proved it can happen. I think it's helped a lot of other people, too, just with their attitudes, you know.
The reigning world champions ready for the Gator Nationals. The 1983 Gator Nationals are being brought to you by McGuire's Car Wax. For over 50 years, McGuire's quality waxes and polishes have been the choice of car care professionals. And by Goodyear, makers of Eagle high-performance radials and Wrangler all-season radials for light trucks. And by Budweiser, the king of beers and proud sponsor of the U.S. Olympic team. For all you do, this Bud's for you. Top Fuel racing at the Gator Nationals coming up next. At the Gator Nationals at Gainesville Raceway in Gainesville, Florida, we're getting ready for round number 2 racing in Top Fuel Eliminator. The first car we see driven by Jody Smart. These Top Fuel cars, over 240 inches in wheelbase, engines producing over 2,500 horsepower. Smart will be racing Connie Kalita in this second round action. Jody Smart from San Antonio, Texas, finishing in the runner-up spot a number of times, while Connie Kalita, a true veteran of the sport, his career dates back to its start in 1958. Last season, Kalita, winner of 2 NHRA national event titles, while Jody Smart has yet to take home his first NHRA title. Both cars off the mark together, and it is Smart. But no, Connie Kalita comes from behind and takes the win, 5.71 seconds. His speed, 248 miles an hour. Kalita moving into the semifinals at the Gator Nationals by virtue of this win, has our next pair already ready to go. The Donnell brothers into agribusiness up in the Central California Valley area. Danny Donnell, the driver. His competition, another agribusiness man, Larry Miner from San Jacinto, California. Both Miner and Donnell are somewhat new to the driving chores in championship drag racing. For Donnell, it was a switch from sand dragging. That's racing on the sand in Southern California. For Larry Miner, it was a move from being a car owner to a car driver. This marks the second major event competition for Miner. He has been very successful in his move to the driver's cockpit. Steve Evans is with Connie Kalita.
That was a good drag race with Jody Smart.
Yes, it was. I looked over and he was right there. I didn't know who won in the other end.
No, you did. The wind lights blinking in your lane.
Thank you.
The crafty veteran Connie Kalita heading back to the pits to get ready for the semifinal round. We're still in the second round of racing, and Larry Miner making the switch to the driving chores very easily. He qualified well at the recent Winter Nationals in Southern California, also qualified very well here at the Gator Nationals. For Danny Donnell, he was a recent upset victor over Shirley Muldowney at a regional race in California. Recording a 5.66 second elapsed time, Donnell earned a lot of respect in winning that race. But here at the Gator Nationals, it's the one that gets to the finish line first that advances to the semifinals. Danny Donnell against Larry Miner. They're side by side at the start, but look at Miner pull away. And Larry Miner records the second quickest elapsed time in history at 5.51 seconds. His speed over 246 miles an hour. And now the woman you saw just a few moments ago run faster than anyone in history, Shirley Muldowney. Shirley will be racing against the longtime superstar Gene Snow from Fort Worth, Texas. Shirley, an unprecedented 3 Top Fuel world titles to her credit, while Gene Snow coming back after a several-year layoff into Top Fuel racing. Snow has his work cut out for him as he had difficulties during qualifying, finally making this super tough field. But Shirley recording that blistering 257-mile-an-hour charge in the first round of racing is definitely the favorite here as we advance through the second round. Shirley has recorded more 5-second elapsed time runs in competition than any other driver, and Gene Snow knows it as he gets ready to do battle, trying to advance to the semifinals. The crew making the final preparations as Shirley and Gene Snow square off at the starting line. It's a matter of concentration, and Shirley is one of the best. She has, for the past several years, been the premier dragster driver. And it is concentration in her ability to get off the line, but it looks like Gene Snow left first, but Shirley Muldowney not to be denied. 5.67 seconds, 249 miles an hour. As it is Shirley going into the semifinals, we watch again. You saw Gene Snow move first. That very rarely happens to Shirley Muldowney. As we advance down the quarter mile, the engine goes away for Gene Snow, and Shirley Muldowney wins it. Steve Evans is with Shirley right now.
So Shirley Muldowney just keeps knocking them off. She's undefeated here going into her third year at the Gator Nationals, 5.67.
That's decent for the way it shook out there, any mile an hour.
I didn't hear the mile an hour, but I did see a lot of smoke in the lights.
Yeah, I think it caught 1 or maybe 2 in the lights, so I'm sure the mile an hour was down.
All right. By catching 1, she means a couple of pistons may have been burned. They're easily changed.
Steve, it shows you how advanced drag racing has become when we talk about changing a couple of pistons in just about an hour. Gary Beck roaring back to the starting line. Gary is the low qualifier here at the Gator Nationals, as he has been at the last 6 national events, but a long time since a win. His competition, Richard Tharp of Dallas, Texas. Coming back after a year's layoff, driving for a new team of owners, Kilpatrick and Cannell, Tharp is regarded by many as one of the finer drivers in the sport of championship drag racing, and certainly one of the most colorful personalities in any form of motorsports. Richard, a former world champion, a former national champion, has got his work cut out for him, though, as he is racing Gary Beck, part of a two-car team. His car owner, Larry Miner, now driving, and Steve talked to them earlier.
This is the quickest top fuel dragster in the world at 5.48 seconds. Right next to it sits another blue car, the second quickest top fuel dragster in the world at 5.52 seconds. And they're both owned by the same man from Hemet, California, Larry Miner. Now, Larry, you've still got Gary Beck driving, but now you're driving too. How did this all come about?
Well, I've always wanted to drive one of these cars. I've driven all the other race cars that I've owned, and this winter gave us a good chance for me to get my license, and Gary worked with me, and we just planned on going to one national event, but I liked it so well, and the car's running good. I kind of got the bug right now.
You know, he was hard enough to drive for. Now you may even have to race him to boot.
Yeah, we might. That's probably one of our least of our worries is racing the two cars together. But as it happens at the present moment, we're qualified on the same side of the ladder. It could come together, which would be fine. That would mean both cars are doing well.
Gary Beck not worrying about what's coming up. He's worried only at the race of the moment, and that is against Richard Tharp in the Kilpatrick and Cannell car. Both cars coming into the staging beams. A great start for both drivers. Tharp drifting towards the center line. They're almost side by side, and it is Gary Beck, and look at that, a new national record. 5.49 seconds. His speed over 252 miles an hour, and Richard Tharp acquitting himself very well. This is the closest side-by-side race in history, with Gary Beck going 5.49 seconds. Richard Tharp with a motor going away at the finish line at 5.63 seconds. So Gary Beck moves into the semis against Larry Miner. Here's Steve.
This is turning out to be a heck of an afternoon for the Larry Miner-Gary Beck team. That is the new national record, 5.49.
Gee, that's terrific. Well, we're real happy. I'll tell you, the cars are running just great. Larry's doing a terrific job of driving, and we tried a few things at Pomona, with some experiments, and we went back and we just made them exactly the same as best we could, and they're running just fine.
This could be called the dream race as Gary Beck faces off against his car owner Larry Miner, while Shirley Muldowney races her former crew chief, Connie Kalita, here at the Gator Nationals. Funny cars, they're coming up next. We're back at the 14th annual NHRA Gator Nationals at Gainesville Raceway near Gainesville, Florida, getting set for round number 2 racing in Funny Car Eliminator. A funny car, that tubular chassis creation, carrying an engine very similar to the top fuel racers, over 2,500 horsepower, but encased in a fiberglass replica body of a late model American or foreign car. The interesting point here, the driver sitting behind all that nitro-burning horsepower. The funny cars, like all cars in competition, do those long, smoky burnouts. The burnout actually getting the tires spinning fast enough where it burns the rubber and gets the tires very hot. Raymond Beadle, the former world champion, is matched in his first race of round number 2 against Frank Hawley, the reigning world champion, proudly bearing number 1 on the side of the Chi-Town Hustler. Frank Hawley competing last season for the first time in a full series of events. Raymond Beadle, a 3-time world champion. He won the title 3 years in a row. But there's problems right now. It looked like the start of the Gainesville Marathon, but they're running down track, having to push back by hand the Blue Max car of Raymond Beadle. Frank Hawley patiently waiting, backing up, getting set to do another short burnout as the crew pushing this car, weighing about 1,900 pounds, pushing it back in its own tracks. Apparently the reverser is broken, and he was unable to back up under his own power. Frank Hawley getting the word, bring it up to the starting line. They're just now nearing the starting line, and this crew is getting tired. It's a tough push from about 400 feet down the racetrack to push one of these cars back with the engine idling. It's trying to go forward as the centrifugal type clutch trying to pull ahead, but it's Raymond Beadle back at the starting line. The Blue Max has made it. There will be a race against Frank Hawley. Had he taken much longer, Hawley might have had a single, but Beadle is giving him what he can. Beadle a bit out of shape, and Frank Hawley wins the second round, and the crew, dead tired to start with, watches their driver go down to defeat Frank Hawley, winning the race at 5.93 seconds. And that's what a tired crew looks like as the Blue Max crew heads down track. Our next pair gets ready to go. Mike Dunn at the wheel of the Hawaiian against John Brute Force. Roland Leong, the owner of the Hawaiian. Mike Dunn, the driver, a second-generation drag racer. Let's go now to Steve.
Yeah, it's fun. The tires, Raymond had some problem getting back. We sat there for a long time, and you start to wonder if it's gonna spin the tires. It did a bit, and I pedaled it, and I don't know what it run, but it was good enough to beat the blue car. 93. Well, that's not bad, and I think we're still looking at winning this whole race.
Consistency, again, the Tri-Town motto.
Well, that's what it is, and last year, Shirley said something about Garland, saying, well, she says, that's a little premature, and I'm not being premature, I'm just being optimistic.
A very optimistic Frank Hawley, we might add, as he is the defending champion here at the Gator Nationals. John Force against Mike Dunn, the next race we'll be watching. Force out of Southern California, one of the stronger racers on the circuit, has qualified very well for this event down in the 580s. His competition, the second-generation drag racer, Mike Dunn, the son of Big Jim Dunn, now the driver for the Hawaiian, having won several NHRA national event titles in the past couple of years, driving Roland Leong's newest creation, the Hawaiian. The burnouts are completed, both drivers staging very carefully. You see John Force creeping into the light beams across the starting line, signifying he's ready to go. He gets the whole shot, but it's a red light for John Force. Mike Dunn goes up in smoke, and John Force explodes an engine just as he passes through the lights. The fire rolling out from under the car. He spins it out down in the shutoff area. Fortunately, Mike Dunn had shut it off way early. Here you see the emergency hatch coming open. Let's hope that John Force can get out of that car. There we see him climbing up. The emergency crew already on the scene, dousing him with water. John Force rolling off of the top of the car, taking off his fire protective gloves. And what a wild ride for John Force. A tough break as not only he red lights, but as you see again, explodes the engine. Look at the fire coming out from underneath and behind the car. The parachute trying to slow it down. And now the parachute goes the way as the flames burn away the shroud lines. Now the fire really coming up, carrying the onboard fire extinguisher. You notice very little, if any, fire inside the cockpit where the driver is. That's the purpose of that fire extinguishing compound. A tremendous driving job by John Force, and I'm sure he is shaken up, and we'll find out as we go to Steve Evans.
John, you okay?
Fine, Steve.
Again, the safety equipment, what we should do without it?
Save my butt. What could you do?
When we saw the white smoke, that's when the fire bottles hit, I guess.
Oh, yeah. Save me. I love it.
Did you have any idea where you were on the course?
Just from the steering wheel, because the front end was staying intact, and it was a little bit sideways, and Roland must have done a good job because he didn't ram me, because I know I crossed him a little bit. And I could see, and when it turned sideways, the fire cleared some, and God, I can't believe I red lighted up there.
I didn't know that either. In fact, you just told me that's the first time I've known that. Cars, we can replace. Good guys like you, we can. I'm really glad to see you're okay. Everybody is.
Thank you.
Steve, you can see the disappointment as you found out as John Force, realizing not only did he have a very expensive blower explosion, he red lighted to lose the race, meaning he left the starting line too early. Our next pair, just coming out of the water, we find Gary Bergen. We saw him a little bit earlier establishing that track record of 5.78 seconds. He's running against Tom Anderson. Bergen, a former national champion, with that 5.78 seconds, certainly puts him up in the top of the class of funny car racers at the moment. For Tom Anderson, he had the same problems, as you see some scorch marks on the back of the car, the same problems that John Force did earlier in qualifying. You see Tom Anderson driving for Alan Aronek and Jim Ouimet all over the racetrack. The car slowing and then exploding. The supercharger exploding. You see the injector unit hanging by its fuel lines. The fire burning behind the parachute already. The shroud line's gone. Tom Anderson bringing the car thus far to a straight stop. It's starting to bounce just a bit. Those huge rear tires acting like a rubber ball bouncing, and now he spins it out with the injector standing straight in the air, the smoke and fire rolling off the back of the car. Tommy Anderson doing a great driving job to bring this car to a safe stop. And there's Anderson rolling out of the emergency hatch, and he hits the ground and gets away. Steve had a chance to talk with him after the fire.
Where did you hit the onboard fire extinguishers?
As soon as it blew up. I mean, I just grabbed the brake and just squeezed them.
Let's take a look, if we can, at the boots real quick down here. Tommy, show us. God bless them, huh?
They work.
The fire protective devices required by NHRA, the onboard fire extinguishing systems, and those driver suits protecting the driver in case of two very serious fires. But Tommy Anderson got it repaired overnight. He was up against Gary Bergen, and Bergen up in smoke. Tom Anderson, the motor's starting to go away again. How much mechanical breakage can this team stand? 6 seconds flat, 235 miles an hour. It is Tom Anderson moving into the semifinals, defeating the track record holder and the man that held low elapsed time at 5.78 seconds going into this round. Our next race already fired, the sleek black machine out of North Hollywood, California, bearing only the name Little John Lombardo down the side. John, one of the strongest racers on the West Coast, up against the traveling pro, Dale Poldy, teamed with partner Mike Hamby in the Warrior. Poldy, one of the fastest funny car drivers in the world, had previously held the NHRA national record. For John Lombardo on the national trail this season, qualified very well in the high 580s. So it is Dale Poldy to go against John Lombardo. Here, the final race of round number 2 in Funny Car Eliminator at the Gator Nationals. Here are the lights at the top of the Christmas tree indicating when they're all 4 lit that the drivers are ready to go, and the green light comes on. John Lombardo against Dale Poldy. Poldy seeming to pull ahead at the middle of the race, but it is a close race to the finish as Poldy wins it 6.02 seconds. His speed 241 miles an hour. The semifinals are set for Funny Car. It'll be the world champion Frank Hawley against the Hawaiian Mike Dunn. Dale Poldy against Tom Anderson here at the Gator Nationals. Today in the Connie Kalita pit area, Steve.
I tell you, I wish my local garage mechanic could see what's going on in Connie Kalita's pits, because he wouldn't believe it. The Kalita car was ready to come down off the jack and go to the staging lanes to meet up with Shirley Muldowney, but they found a leaking exhaust valve after the entire engine had been reassembled, and they were done, they thought. Now it is coming apart again, and will they have time is the big question now to get it fixed.
We'll be keeping an eye on all the action in the Kalita pit area, but up at the starting line, this overflow crowd is looking on as the semifinal round of Pro Stock Eliminator gets ready to go. It is Bob Glidden at the wheel of the Ford Thunderbird, that's the 83 version, against Lee Shepard driving the Rare & Morrison Camaro, the Chevrolet of Lee Shepard, the world champion for the 2nd year in a row. Bob Glidden, the winningest driver in all of drag racing history with a total of 35 wins to his credit, is wheeling this new Ford Thunderbird, the 83 version. These are gasoline-burning cars, 500 cubic inch engines, and they are off the starting line. It is a close race. At the finish line, it is Lee Shepard in the Camaro. With a speed of over 181 miles an hour, Shepard wins it. The classic and highly popular Chevrolet versus Ford match up again in the semifinals. Frank Iaconio, number 2 in the world last season, at the wheel of his bright yellow Camaro against the red and white Ford Thunderbird 83 version of this man, Ricky Smith. Ricky in his 2nd full season of NHRA National Event Competition, making it to the semifinals to race number 2 in the world last year and recent winner of the Winter Nationals, Frank Iaconio. The concentration begins to build as both drivers, having finished their burnout, get themselves mentally prepared to leave that starting line as quickly as possible without leaving a red light. Rolling forward ever so carefully, both cars come into those light beams. When it's set, starter Buster Couch throws a switch, and it's a green light. Off the line first, and with a bit of a lead in the middle of the track, it is Frank Iaconio. He extends it to win the race over Ricky Smith. It'll be an all Chevrolet final. Frank Iaconio against Lee Shepard. Steve?
We're down in Tom Anderson's pits, and there's a bit of good news, right?
Yeah, I guess so. It looks like we can fix it anyway.
So a lot of that smoke we saw was what, the tire rub in the body?
Yeah, because when we had to fire it, the body kind of sagged on the car, and the tire rubs it now.
I heard you guys say that you back-sided 3 pistons. Why don't you show us what that means with this piston here?
Okay, a back-sided piston means that on the reverse side of the piston, that gets hot and pushes the rings down and puts Black Death all over. You see all this scuff all over here is not supposed to be there.
That's Black Death?
That's Black Death.
Well, this is not a severely burned piston. I've seen them just melted.
No, this one's not bad at all. This is normal for fuel racing.
They come out sometimes where they wouldn't even make a good ashtray.
That's true. It won't even hold ashes.
Steve, a great attitude for a team that's had a lot of trouble this weekend. Here at the Gator Nationals, we've had a lot more racing going on as our sportsman categories of competition have evolved to winners in all the categories. In the stock eliminator finals, Ron Jeffries in the far lane driving the Firebird up against the Camaro of Ken Kuntz, and Kuntz gave it away on the starting line. You see the red light showing, indicating that Ron Jeffries from Winter Haven, Florida, a big favorite with this overflow crowd, taking home his first ever NHRA title. In Super Stock Eliminator, David Colber from Fredericksburg, Virginia, in the near lane is racing Don Wolf of Clarksville, Tennessee, and Wolf in the Chevy 2 by a matter of inches wins Super Stock Eliminator. In Super Gas, it is Johnny LaBouse from Rome, Georgia, against the Ohio-based Mike Mazza from Mount Vernon. These two highly modified cars, the Dodge and the Chevy Vega, finds the Vega coming out on top. Mike Mazza, the winner. Competition eliminator, Bob Kaiser of Broomall, Pennsylvania. Coleman Roddy from Port Arthur, Texas. Roddy in the Corvette. The Chop Top Opel GT of Bob Kaiser wins it by a car length. Competition eliminator champion, Bob Kaiser. In Pro Stock Motorcycles, it's Terry Vance in the near lane against Bob Carpenter, and Terry Vance with the 83 Honda defeating the 82 Suzuki. Vance, your champion. And in Top Alcohol Funny Car, Frank Manzo was to have run Bob Gottschalk. Gottschalk unable to make the call for the round. In Top Alcohol Dragster, Bubba Sewell was to have run Don Woosley. Woosley having mechanical problems. Both Frank Manza and Bubba Sewell, the winners. NHRA officials decided to run them together. And Bubba Sewell and Frank Manzo, your winners in Top Alcohol Dragster and Top Alcohol Funny Cars, respectively. Our congratulations going to all the champions. Bubba Sewell, Frank Manzo, Terry Vance, Bob Kaiser. These are the sportsman champions, along with Mike Mazza, Don Wolf, and Ron Jeffries. Steve Evans is with the president of the National Hot Rod Association, Wally Parks.
Thank you, David. Wally, we're always impressed with the growth of this sport from year to year. But looking around here in Gainesville, I'd have to say that NHRA has taken a giant leap forward in '83.
There's no question about it. We've been absolutely amazed with the way this season has started out. And that applies not only to the tremendous amount of new and very costly equipment that's running, but the number of increased sponsors that we've got in the program. It's just overwhelming. And of course, as far as attendance is concerned, why, it's been up and it looks like it's going to continue to go up.
You know, back in the middle to late 60s, the muscle car era, as it's become known, the factories were very much involved, quite an influence. Then they disappeared. They are back in '83. That's obvious here. How do you account for that?
Well, I think that's a part of the new movement to try to excite people into buying automobiles again. You know, we've gone through some very tough years as far as the auto manufacturing industry is concerned. And I think everybody has learned the lesson of the fact that there has to be a little bit more glamour, a little more dramatics, a little more excitement as far as car sales interest is concerned. So the factories are very actively involved now trying to create some new performance images. We know that the cars are smaller today and the engines are smaller, they're more economical, but we found that the performance is there. So we're very happy to see them back into our ranks, and certainly there's an awful lot of racers out there that are using their equipment.
Continued success to you and NHRA.
Thank you.
The semifinals are set for Top Fuel and Funny Car, and we'll be coming back to Gainesville, Florida in just a moment. Back at Gainesville Raceway, I'm Dave McClellan, along with Steve Evans and Tom Anderson. Will make it into the semifinals. All the work for Alan Aronek and Jim Wimette, his car owners, paid off, and it's about time as the first two cars already completing their burnouts. Frank Hawley against Mike Dunn. Mike Dunn, the latest in a series of drivers for car owner Roland Leong at the wheel of this Dodge Charger-bodied funny car. The Chi-Town Hustler, one of the most feared names in all of racing, based on last year's performance when Frank Hawley won the World Championship, and it was this race and a win a year ago that sent him on his way, and Mike Dunn up in smoke. It is Frank Hawley into the finals. Hawley with a very consistent 5.94 second elapsed time. As we watch again, you'll see exactly what happens. The two cars lead fairly well, but the tires losing traction for Mike Dunn, and that is giving the race to Frank Hawley.
Well, Frank Hawley, tell me if I'm overusing the word consistency. A 5.94.
Well, it's off a couple hundredths. You know what's strange? It's hard. How you can get out of breath in just a few seconds.
It's a little harder work than people might think. You're going into the final round for the second year in a row here.
Yeah, we just take it one round at a time, and we had to run Mike that time. Roland had run pretty good, and we haven't changed our battle plan at all. You know, things are about a tenth quicker because it's a year later, but we're just going to do the same old thing.
See you in the final.
Okay.
Steve will find out who he will be racing in the final. Will it be this man, Dale Pulde, or his competition, Tom Anderson? Pulde has had a good weekend thus far with his Warrior. Very consistent, 6.05 seconds in the first round, a 6.02 in the previous round. And Tom Anderson, we know his problems. He had the fire in qualifying. They had to put the car back together. They burned a few pistons in the round before, but they have been around the 6-second flat zone. So this could be a very close race to determine who will be the opponent for Frank Hawley in the finals of Funny Car at the Gator Nationals. Tom Anderson in the far lane. Dale Pulde in the near lane. And they're both up in smoke. Anderson makes a move for the guardrail. Pulde to the center line. Pulde stands on it again and smokes the tires. And what a race. Forget the times. That doesn't matter. The reactions of both drivers. Tom Anderson keeping it out of the guardrail. And Dale Pulde keeping it from crossing the center line. Look at the move by Anderson towards the guardrail. As Dale Pulde smoking the tires. Heads across the track towards the center line. Had either driver touched either the guardrail or the center line, they would have been out. But Pulde stands on it again, just smoking the tires in the middle of the course and wins the race.
Dale, some famous philosopher once said, I'd rather be lucky than good sometimes.
I'll take the luck any day. It seems like it's with me today.
Did you even know where Anderson was?
I had no idea. This thing came up, and I think it hit the wheelie bars and smoked the tires. And I couldn't see after that until it came down and straightened out.
Well, you're going to have a tough final round opponent in Frank Hawley.
He's always there, too. I mean, every time. They're a tough group to beat.
That's the kind of consistency every team would like to develop, really.
You can bet on it. He's got a good crewman right there with Austin Coyle, and he's a heck of a driver.
Right, now you're not going to have lane choice. Big factor?
I haven't had it all day.
And here you are.
Yeah, I'll take that luck again. Thanks.
No, you're not seeing double. These are two very similar cars, but with two different drivers. The team owner, now driving himself, Larry Miner, is in the far lane. The hired driver is Gary Beck in the right-hand lane. The question is, will it be a race? Earlier, Steve had a chance to talk to Larry and found out.
You recall the comments of Gary Beck at the end of the racetrack? Well, there's been a change in that battle plan, an exciting one. Car owner Larry Miner, we're going to have a race, right?
That's right. We're going to go for it.
The original plan, though, was to further back as far as points towards a world title.
Right. Well, that's our main objective. But I really kind of feel that we're going to make a good race out of it. But I hope Beck's ahead of me.
You do really? But you're not going to back off.
I hope I don't have to.
What a race this should be. Larry Miner has run 5.51 seconds. His hired driver, Gary Beck, has run a national record-setting 5.49 seconds. As Gary said earlier in the interview, they try to set up the cars identical, which means if everything is equal, they should run just the same. As Larry just said, it will be a race. Let's see what happens as the Larry and Gary show unfolds at the starting line in Top Fuel semifinal. And Larry Minor has some problems right at the start, but Gary Beck has got a great one. And this is just how great it is, 5.44 seconds, the quickest elapsed time in the history of the sport, and a new national record for Gary Beck. His team owner, Larry Minor, coasting to a stop as he slowly rolls through the speed traps at the finish line. Gary Beck getting out of his car, shaking his head.
Gary Beck comes out of the car, looks around for his good friend and car owner Larry Minor, and I can tell him right now that Larry apparently shook the tires very hard right off the starting line. But my friend, you were again the world's quickest, 5:44.
It's amazing, isn't it, Steve? It's hard to believe, but you know, the track's good. We got a nice, cool afternoon here, and we have been working with the gear ratio of the car here a little bit, and we're just able to just run it as hard as we know how, and it just is hanging on.
I don't think there's any question who you'd like to race in the final, is there?
Yeah, I guess we owe her one. She beat both our cars at Pomona, so I guess we'll try to get her with one of these blue cars.
We're going to go back to the starting line and find out just who will race Gary Beck in the final.
Steve, when you talk about she in Top Fuel racing, it can be referring only to the pink car, the lady Shirley Muldowney, the reigning world champion. And you talk about dream matchups, Larry Minor against Gary Beck. How's Shirley Muldowney against her former crew chief, Connie Kalita sound? The winner of this going against the quickest man in the history of the sport, Gary Beck. Both drivers just sort of sitting here. Nobody's making a move to the starting line. Now Shirley rolls in. Here comes Connie. And Connie Kalita pulls Shirley Muldowney off the starting line. She loses a bit of traction, and it's an upset win for Connie Kalita. The crowd cheering as Kalita moves into the finals. A very respectable 5:66. We watch in replay and we'll see the margin of difference close to the starting line, and at the finish line, it is duplicated by a car length. Connie Kalita earning the right to face Gary Beck.
Connie Kalita. A little revenge, I guess, for the U.S. Nationals, huh?
Yes, it is.
That's as much fun as winning the race?
Well, it'd be better if it was in the finals. It'd make it a lot sweeter.
Well, everybody knows all those stories, but you had a real thrasher at the last minute.
Well, we had started a car that had a leaky exhaust valve, and we had a porcelain underneath it, and we didn't catch it when we took the engine apart. So we popped the head back off and fixed it.
All right, now it's Gary Beck. I don't know if you heard his elapsed time, 5:44.
No, I'm protesting it because it was a bad time. I'm sure that there's a piece of something that got in front of the lights that give that thing that quick. There ain't no way in the world it can be that quick.
Sounds impossible, but we know it's real, don't we?
God, his car's running good. He has really got a handle on it. It's amazing, and he's not hurting it either. It's phenomenal. He's really got his act together.
Well, if I know the bounty hunter, you'll blow this one right out of the frame to beat him.
I wouldn't do that.
Steve, don't bet on that. Connie Kalita has wasted the motors on far less than a Gator Nationals championships. So the finals are set in our three professional categories of Top Fuel, Funny Car, and Pro Stock. This lady for the first time watching the finals as a spectator. Three races remain at the Gator Nationals, our professional finals. In Pro Stock Eliminator, a pair of Chevrolets. The reigning world champion, #1 in the white car in the near lane is Lee Shepard, driving for his car owners and partners, Rare and Morrison from Arlington, Texas. From Totowa, New Jersey, #2 in the world last year and recent winner of the Winter Nationals, Frank Iaconio. Both cars powered by 500 cubic inch, 2 carburetors, gasoline-burning engines, and it's a red light start for Iaconio. The win automatically goes to Lee Shepard, his second in a row here at the Gator Nationals. At the starting line, the story is told as Lee Shepard, also with a great performance of a 768 at over 180 miles an hour. These full-bodied factory hot rods moving through that quarter mile at speeds over 180. The full-bodied funny cars, but with 2,500 horsepower of nitro-burning engine in front of the driver, Dale Paldy is facing Mr. Consistency at this event, the Chi-Town Hustler, Frank Hawley, the defending champion at the wheel. Hawley started his march to the World Championship title with a big win here 1 year ago. He has consistently been in the low 590s in every round of elimination. The Chi-Town Hustler last year making its first major effort at national event competition, and it paid off with the world champion title. Dale Baldy, winning back here in 1978, was runner-up in 1981, and he's giving Hawley a run for the money. As they near the finish line, it is Hawley by just over a car length. Frank Hawley wins it. Pat Minnick's daughter, just happy as she can be. Karen, that's Frank Hawley at a 592, remains with that consistency. In the replay, you see they are just side by side as they pass our starting line camera position, but at the finish line, approximately a car length and a half separating the two drivers.
The young Canadian Frank Hawley wasting no time coming out from under the Dodge Charger Chi-Town Hustler. Frank Hawley, the world champion. This is 2 in a row, much like Lee Shepard for Hawley. In fact, this was really the glory ground for this car, where it all started, their chase to the World Championship. Congratulations again.
Thank you, Steve. You spun the tires a lot in the middle.
Side by side, 5-second runs. You ran a little bit quicker.
Really? What was it? Do you remember? I mean, I saw the car for a long time. And then after it got overspin the tires in the middle of the track, we just sailed on through like we have for the last few races.
The victories like this are so important from a cash flow standpoint for a car that doesn't have a major product emblazoned on the side and a 6-figure bank account.
Well, that's it, and someday we'll probably have the 6-figure bank account because
you may win it all.
Yeah, well, if we don't do that, this is probably the best deal in auto racing is right here.
Absolutely, and here comes the crew. Austin Coyle that runs this car. Some say maybe a borderline genius. Congratulations, Austin. Another nice one.
The congratulations being paid to Frank Hawley, but at the starting line, the quickest man in drag racing history is trying to end a 16-month streak of no victories. Gary Beck has been the top qualifier at the last 6 NHRA national events, but he has not won a race since October of 1981. Connie Kalita, winner twice on the national event trail last season, has got his work cut out for him. He ran a 5.66 in the semifinals to defeat his former driver, Shirley Muldowney, but Gary Beck ran a 5.44. He's already run another 5.40, a 5.49. What will he do this time? He's just driving away from Connie Kalita, and Gary Beck wins the race with another 5.40, 5.49 seconds elapsed time at over 251 miles an hour. Leaving the line, the blue car of Gary Beck not missing a beat. Kalita into problems. He shuts off, and Beck wins it.
Oh, and congratulations again to you and your wife, Penny, and to Larry Miner, and a happy crew that'll be down here in just a few minutes. Have you ever, short of that first win in 1972, have you ever enjoyed a weekend anymore at the drag races?
Well, it's so much work that, you know, that it's hard to understand the fun. Maybe we'll understand the fun tomorrow.
Gary Beck is your Gator Nationals top fuel champion.
Steve, Gary Beck is back in that winner's circle after such a long dry spell. For Steve Evans, this is Dave McClellan saying congratulations to all the Gator Nationals champions. The executive producer of Diamond B Sports is Harvey M. Pavlich. Produced and directed by John B. Mullen. Footage of the NHRA Gator Nationals is a Diamond B Sports presentation.
Jackson from Pomona, California. Buckle your seat belt and snap on your helmet, because today we're going to bring you the Winter Nationals Drag Racing Championships.
Go to Pomona, California, and the Winter National Drag Racing Championships. Our commentator there, Reggie Jackson, who may be more familiar in a baseball uniform, but Reggie's an avid car collector and author. Reggie has had a close affiliation for drag racing over the years. Right now, let's join Reggie at the Winter National Drag Racing Championships in Pomona, California.
Looking at a normal winter morning in Pomona, California. Quiet and serene. However, for 4 days in February, that calmness at the LA County Fairgrounds becomes something else.
For adventure and whatever comes our way. Yeah, I gotta go make it happen.
Woo! All right, the fast lane. I love it. I'm glad it's just my hobby. Let's go watch the pros drive. Hello again, everybody. I'm Reggie Jackson for ABC's Wide World of Sports. And today from Pomona, California, we're going to bring you the 24th Winter Nationals, the first of 12 national events in the year 1984. We've had some super weather here the past few days. The temperature has hovered right around 75 degrees all week. And it's super clear. Along with great weather, we've got a fantastic crowd. The greatest crowd they've ever had here in the history of the Winter Nationals, and they're going to be seeing some outstanding drag racers. All the great names are here, some household names and some new ones. The competition the past few days has been nothing short of fierce. And no one knows it better than our 37,000 fans that are here today. They've turned away some 12 to 15,000 to watch today's finals. As our NHRA maintenance crew prepares the track for today's races, let's take a look back and see what the drag racer's greatest fear can be. Murph Littlefield in the funny car takes off from the starting line. His car gets out of control, hits the guardrail. His body flips off. A fire. Luckily, he's unharmed. The track rescue unit there immediately to put out the fire to make sure he's not hurt. Murph Littlefield, consoled by a very concerned, emotional wife. I wonder if they're thinking about the next time he has to attack that quarter of a mile. Today we're going to concentrate on 3 professional classes. First, the Pro Stock class, cars that most resemble our factory-built cars with metal bodies and gas-burning engines. Then the funny car with their fiberglass bodies covering those nitro fuel-burning engines of over 2,500 horsepower, capable of speeds of over 240 miles an hour. Then there's that top fuel class, or the dragsters as some say, with those big 16-inch tires in the back, those low-slung bodies, and those bicycle tires up front. 2,500 horsepower, capable of speeds of over 250 miles an hour. The drama started early on this, the final day of competition, as some of the familiar names had problems. One of those top names was funny car driver Raymond Beatle, who's been running very consistent and was #2 qualifier. He seemed a cinch to arrive in the finals, but on this day, it just was not meant to be. After giving us an exhibition in driving, he wins the race. But his parachute fails to open. He crashed at over 150 miles an hour. And this is what he wound up with, a mutilated Blue Max. Out of the drag race for the rest of the day. One of the biggest names in drag racing in the past 20 years, Don the Snake Prudhomme, has been having his problems of late. They continued in Pomona. His car stalled before he even got to the starting line.
We're trying to stay current. That's the main thing in any sport. You know, when you have the edge in automobile racing, you read the newspapers that guys win, you know, for 2 or 3 years in a row, then lose it. It's because someone come along with a new
new trick idea, and right now we're looking for one ourselves, but it's just not something that we've lost interest. It's just something we haven't got going for us right now that we're trying to get back.
The upset and the unexpected continue as 1982-83 world champion funny car driver Frank Hawley and his Chi-Town Hustler lost control from the starting line. His car went across the center line, automatically disqualifying him from the race. With some great driving, he avoided a crash.
Well, what happens is the first time I've ever crossed the center line since I've been driving this car in 4 years. And what you worry about mostly is the lack of consideration for the other driver.
Round, round, get around, I get around, yeah, get around, round, round, I get around, I get around, round, round, I get around, get around, round.
Are ready for the semifinals in the funny car class. It'll be Al Segrini going against John Force. Both drivers have been in the pits preparing their cars for this race, making adjustments in their clutches, changes in fuel mixture. It's been a very difficult track today. The track's been slick. It's been sticky. They've had problems keeping the car straight, getting the horsepower to stick to the ground, not smoking those tires. John Force got here because Don Prudhomme failed to get his car started. Al Segrini beat little John Lombardo. The drivers are ready. They're on the starting line. They'll now wait for the Christmas tree. The green light, they're off. Segrini with a good start, but his car gets out of shape. John Force's car smokes the tires. Not a real good time, but Al Segrini is the winner, a 6.50. Only 229 miles an hour, but that important factor is his. He's in the final against the winner of this semifinal race, Tim Gross in the white funny car, who got here because Frank Hawley disqualified himself. He goes against Tom Oswald, who got here because Raymond Beadle crashed his car and couldn't show up. Gross against Oswald. They get ready. They're off. Gross with a real good start keeps his car straight. Tom Oswald having problems. And Gross with a great time of 5.95, 241 miles an hour. He's in the final, and he goes against Al Segrini. Man, I can't wait to see this one. You've heard me mention elapsed time in miles per hour. The line before the finish line establishes a speed trap where your miles per hour measurement starts. Elapsed time is recorded at the finish line. The line after the finish line is at the end of the speed trap, and that records your miles per hour. We now go to Top Fuel, where we have a chance to see speeds in excess of 250 miles an hour. The competition was intensified with Big Daddy Don Garlits, a legend making his first appearance in 4 years at the Winter Nationals. As you may have seen, he made Gary Beck red light and wound up with a victory. Gary Beck, world champion, 1983, holder of the world record of 5.39 seconds. Red lights. One wonders if people hear the footsteps of Big Daddy Don Garlits.
I could have anticipated a little bit. I had some awful good reaction times in qualifying. The car's leaving real hard, and the track was very good. And I thought I did see some yellow, but I got caught.
You take whatever you can get in this business. You know, it's too bad he red lit, but that's drag racing.
That's drag racing now, and this is drag racing back then. 1963, as we look at the legend, Big Daddy Don Garlits, winning at Pomona with a time of 8.26. It's now 1984, and that legend of a man, that giant of a drag racer, is trying to win here in Pomona for the 5th time. It may be tough for him because he's picked on a giant in her own right. The lady of drag racing, Shirley Muldowney.
I don't worry about any car or any one driver. I try to do the job at hand and not worry about the other lane. The only time I worry about them is if they're ahead of me or if they're in my lane.
Or unless you've got Big Daddy over there in the other lane. Let's see what happens. There they go, and Shirley has smoked her tires. Big Daddy is going to beat Shirley Muldowney in upset. And oh, man, the crowd loves it. This man's got big feet, and we can all hear it.
Get out in that kitchen and run.
And now for the final 4 in Top Fuel, semifinal. Larry Minor against Gary Ormsby. Larry Minor, the California potato farmer, who has come up with a top ET out here of 5.40 seconds, going against Gary Ormsby, the car dealer from Northern California. Let's see how they race. They wait for the tree. It's a good start. And Gary Ormsby is going to beat Larry Minor. An upset. And Gary Ormsby has come up with an ET of 5.63 seconds, 244.5 miles an hour. His crew celebrates as they go down to pick up their boss and get ready for the final. And we'll see who he'll go against from this semifinal. Joey Amato, the number 2 driver last year, finishing second to Gary back at Top Fuel. He's got a tough task. He goes against a man on a roll, Big Daddy Don Garland. He's the crowd pleaser here today. We'll see what kind of start they have. It's a good one. Joey Amato puts a whole shot on the old-timer Big Daddy. Joey Amato's going to hang on for a victory with an elapsed time of 5.84 seconds, 230 miles an hour. He's in the final against Gary Ormsby. Big Daddy Don Garland, the crowd a little bit down. They were pulling for the old veteran. Joey Amato is going to go against Gary Ormsby in the final of Top Fuel. Now let's give a little credit to some of the other class winners here today. Congratulations to all the class winners, but now it's on to the Pro Stock Final. My favorite class, and we've got Lee Shepherd going against Frank Iaconio. Lee Shepherd has won 8 of the last 10 meetings they've had. Lee Shepherd, the number 1 driver last year in Pro Stock, going against Frank Iaconio from New Jersey, the number 2 driver last year. It's Texas against New Jersey. We'll see what happens. They get ready. And it's a good, clean start. Lee Shepherd has the lead at the beginning. And it looks like he's going to beat Frank Iaconio if he holds on, and he does. Oh, what a close race. Lee Shepherd starts his winning ways in 1984 the same way he left off in 83. Looking at the start, we see it's almost a perfect start. Both cars leaving the line almost simultaneously. The word in the pits was that if Frank Iaconio could not put a hole shot on Lee Shepherd, he would not win this race because Lee Shepherd has the faster car.
Save my pennies and I save my dimes. Giddy up, corner.
It's Tim Gross against Al Segrini in the finals of the funny car. We talked to both of them about their strategy for this race.
We're not trying to overpower the track. A lot of the bigger guys, I think they're trying to get the big numbers like during qualifying. We've decided to let's stick with something like low 590 passes and we can win this race. If we overpower the racetrack, we're going to be all over the track also.
As long as I can stick it in high gear without smoking the tires, we'll win a drag race.
2 different opinions, but there's only going to be one winner. As we take a look at Tim Gross. Al Segrini won this race in 1982. Going to try to repeat in 1984. Tim Gross for his 2nd time in the final. As they line up, there they go. Al Segrini gets the jump on Tim Gross right from the start, and looks like he's in a ball of fire. His blower's gone already. He's won the race in 5.96, but look at his car bounce around, completely out of control. There he is. Keep coming, keep coming. All right. Oh, man, what a tough victory. What a tough way to win. I guess it's all worth it. We take a look back as the fire shoots from the side of those cars. Al Segrini, the victor. Close to the finish line, his car bursts into flames. What a tough way to win.
I've been driving now, I'll say 10 years professionally, and this is my first fire, and I'm telling you, when the guys say it gets hot in there, it gets hot in there, I'm telling you. But, boy, I think everything's okay. I mean, it's a shame we did this, but and we didn't want to end like this, but we're in the winner's circle. We're starting 84 off good.
The Top Fuel Eliminator. This is what all 37,000 fans have been waiting for today. This exciting race. Gary Ormsby. We'll see what he had to say about how he prepared his car for this race.
Well, the car's been prepared real well for me, and that's helped me a lot. I think that the years of experience I have help a little bit, too. But this car is prepared excellent, and that's the biggest reason this car is performing today.
He can say that again because he's been running consistent all day long. That's how he got to the final. And he'll be going against Joey Amato, the #2 driver last year. He's been very consistent. He's proud to be a Top Fuel driver now.
We're kind of feel like we're the rookies on the block. This is only our start of our 3rd year as a Top Fuel dragster driver, and I worked my way up through the ranks. I've been very successful as an alcohol driver. We've won a lot of national events like this, but you don't really get the credit until you get into Top Fuel or Funny Car.
Joey Amato appearing in his 5th final round against Gary Ormsby. He last won his NHRA race by defeating Joey Amato. They're off. And it's awfully close. I really can't tell who's going to win this race. It looks like Ormsby has won, and I think he has. 5.66 seconds against 5.67 seconds for Joey Amato. Oh, what a close race. As we take a look back, it cannot be very much closer. 5.66 to 5.67 as the crew celebrates that big $20,000 first prize. A big handshake. Champagne. And some well-deserved champagne. It's the party tonight. Now we get a chance to finally look at those jet cars. I'll bet you that guy's glad the day's over. That's it for the 24th Winter Nationals. We've seen some great drag racing today. We hope you've enjoyed it. I know I have. I'm Reggie Jackson, saying so long from Pomona, California.
The mighty Mississippi River, father of waters, whose legendary currents collect soil from across America en route to the Gulf of Mexico. Along the way, those waters pass the city of St. Louis, home of the Gateway Arch, the Cardinals, cool jazz, and hot drag racing. The 4,000 horsepower thunder and lightning of Top Fuel Eliminator. The ground-shaking, full-bodied spectacle of funny cars. Pro Stock, where lightning reflexes and pumped gasoline create stock-bodied monsters. And this week, a special look at one of the IHRA's exciting sportsman classes, Quick Rod, where some of the wildest creations on Earth battle each other and the clock. Also this week, a special announcement for fans of the two-wheeled bonsai action of drag racing motorcycles. And a taste of the spectacle unique to IHRA racing, the Night of Fire, when flaming jet cars light up the night and fill it with sound. All this coming your way as ESPN presents Championship IHRA Drag Racing, the Tasti Asti Spumati Gateway Nationals. ESPN, celebrating its 10th year as the world leader in motorsports coverage, presents Speed World. Gateway International Raceway, hard by the famous St. Louis Arch, and today the site of the 14th Annual International Hot Rod Association Gateway Nationals. Hello everyone, I'm Bob Varsha, welcoming you to St. Louis, Missouri, westernmost stop on our International Hot Rod Association ESPN Caravan this season. We're approaching the midway point of the 1989 IHRA campaign, and we expect to see championship battles developing in all of our featured classes: Funny Car, Top Fuel, Alcohol Funnies, and Pro Stock. For more on those battles as they develop here in St. Louis, let's go to the rest of our IHRA drag racing team, Ted Jones and Brett Kepner.
Thus far, the action has been incredible. And in IHRA's famous Night of Fire, the numbers were awesome, Brett Kepner.
Boy, they sure were, Ted. In the professional categories during qualifying here at the Tostiasti Spumani Gateway Nationals, every single track record was destroyed. In Top Fuel Eliminator, for instance, John Kerry, the veteran from Delaware, made his first ever pole qualifying run at 5.33 seconds on a track previous record of 5.76 seconds. In Pro Nitro Funny Car, the #1 qualifier also destroyed the track records. R.C. Sherman in the Ray Bestis Clutches Pontiac Trans Am at 5.76 seconds, 260 miles per hour, became the first ever to hit that mark at this racetrack. In Pro Stock Eliminator, one of the strangest situations we've ever had in that category. Ricky Smith, the 4-time world champion in the Stroh's Purolator Trans Am, ran 7.412 seconds at 187 miles per hour. But the #2 qualifier, his rival Billy Ewing in the Ewing Brothers Camaro, also ran 7.412 seconds at 187 miles per hour. Even in the Pro Alcohol Funny Car ranks, the local hero Greg Moss, who is leading the World Points Championship right now, preset both ends of his own track record to 6.25 seconds, 225 miles an hour. And Ted, I got to think it's going to be even quicker during eliminations today.
I agree with you there, Brett. Coming up, something you won't see anywhere else in all of drag racing, a night of the thunder and lightning of jet-powered dragsters in the IHRA Night of Fire. Stay with us. We'll be right back to St. Louis. Back at St. Louis and the IHRA Gateway Nationals, ready for a night of fire. Something you see nowhere else in drag racing, but on the IHRA Tour. Qualifying by the light of the moon and the flames from the headers. And here in St. Louis, Ted, we had a night of final qualifying like no